So before we get into the part we're giving the award for, can you tell us a little bit about your job as a realtor, what you do, how you think about your job?
I've been a full-time realtor since 2003, and our county has about 47,000 people in it. In my little section, I'm from Barbersville, West Virginia, which is a population of right at 4,000. We are a tri-state area, so I am actually one of the few agents licensed in 3 states. I'm licensed in West Virginia, Ohio, and Kentucky. And it keeps me busy, but also within 20 minutes I can be in any one of those states. So,
do you have any listings at the moment?
I do. I have some in all 3 states right now.
Wow.
Yes, I run hard. Yes.
Yeah, I looked earlier on our Find a Realtor site, and it looked like you had 14 listings. So it's
14 active, and then I have I think 4 under contract right now that won't show up.
Wow, very productive. So tell everyone a little bit about the program, when it started, and why you came up with the concept.
I've always been kind of a rebel with a cause. I haven't been one without a cause. I've always had a cause to be a little bit of a rebel. But my high school Bible teacher contacted me in 2010 and asked if I would go to the, quote, hood and do some Jesus with him, and I said absolutely. There was a section in Huntington that was deemed, the city deemed that it had a Sunoco station that had to be torn down because of the high crime rate. And what we did was we drew a 1-mile radius around that specific gas station and was going to try to reach out to the community to see what efforts that we could do to help them as a Christian community. And in that 1-mile radius was an elementary school. And so we went to the principal and asked if there was anything we could do to help this Christian community. And at that point in time, she had about 12 kids that weren't eating on the weekends. And she asked if we would help feed these children. And I jumped on it and said yes, and started out just as a Facebook post. I just said, hey, I got some kids that need some food, and does anybody want to help? And I live in a really cool town, and I live on the main street. And so my front porch became somewhat of a food pantry drop-off. And we started out with 12 children, and now we follow them from pre-K all the way up to high school. And we're now in 4 schools, and we're serving over 70 children. We feed them dinner for Friday, breakfast, lunch, dinner, Saturday, Sunday. And we actually deliver the food to the schools on Fridays for them to take them home on the weekends. Otherwise, they wouldn't have a food source due to. So most of it is their home lives. Some of it is, they're being raised by grandparents, and some of them are being raised by parents that are just doing the best they can and just there to help them a little bit more. But a lot of it is due to their home situations.
And what type of meals will you provide?
We've been very consistent in what we've done through the years. Some of these children live in their cars, not in their houses, and not everybody has running water, and not everybody has electric. So ramen noodles doesn't really serve a purpose if you don't have a microwave or water. So we're very specific on what we get. It's all pre-done meals. It's the Chef Boyardee's, spaghettis and the ham and potatoes and Vienna sausages. And we do Pop-Tarts for breakfast because you get 2 in a package instead of 1. And so we're very specific about what we use so that they can open them themselves. They don't need a can opener. And then they also are already pre-cooked.
And then before we get to how you expanded your charity, how did you balance being a really active realtor and being very productive and your charity work?
Part of it is my parents' fault because, the scissors were always on the, second drawer over. There was 6 of us raised in a 1,000-square-foot house, so you had to be really extremely organized. And I do think that is one reason I can get a lot done is because, I have a collar-coded life and I'm extremely organized. But I'm a single mom also, and at that point in time, my youngest daughter was 12 years old, so she did a lot of homework in the back seat of the car and had to start my car a couple times because my battery died because I forget to turn that light off. But, I was raised by people that said if there's a need, don't say, well, there's nothing I can do about it. Go see what you can do about it. So, it's my parents' fault, I guess, is what we could say.
Yeah, you sound very organized and productive.
Yes.
And then have you been involved with outside of your buying and selling of homes for your clients? Are you involved locally with any of the realtor organizations or your brokerage?
I've been on the board of directors, and I've been on the community service, and I've been in new memberships. So I try to stay active there. Also, I do feel that if I'm a part of something, then I just don't show up. I need to be a part of the makings of it too.
Okay. And now take us to how you transitioned over time to have a broader cause even.
In 2010 is when the backpack ministry started, and in 2011, there was just a small article in the paper, and it was about a small paragraph, and it spoke of a woman that had been murdered in a cornfield. She was a known prostitute, and it gave her name and her age, and said she was found shot in a cornfield that was about 30 minutes from where I live. And it bothered me that that's all that it said. It didn't act like there was going to be any kind of resolve to this murder. And to my knowledge, there hasn't been. So it burdened me. Bottom line, it just really burdened me. And then come to find out about a week later, she was actually the parent to one of our backpack kids that was being raised by a grandparent. So at that point in time, I realized that our whole goal was to show Christ in unconventional ways to these children. But if we were also going to help them here on earth, then we needed to reach out to the parents also. So I knew nothing. I knew prostitution wasn't like Julia Roberts, but I had no idea what to expect. And I kind of thought it was going to be like the first five people in heaven, that Mitch, another book. And I'm living proof the Lord has a sense of humor, because it has been more than that. If they get arrested within 24 hours of arrest, they have a handwritten letter from 2 people from our ministry. We follow them from jail to prison. We go to parole hearings. We pick them up when they're released. We go to the hospital with them. We go to their court hearings with them. We're there when they have their babies, and we're there when they have to give their babies away. It's been a lot more involved than what I ever could imagine, because if I'd imagined all this, I'd have said, I don't have time for that. So, yeah. So, but it's been an awesome experience. We've met approximately 350 women on the streets of Huntington. The difference in 2016, Huntington, West Virginia was deemed the overdose capital of the United States. And so, unfortunately, prostitution has fallen into the description of that. They just think that it's a bunch of women that are addicted to opiates, and they've gone to the streets. But what we've come to find out through the prostitution ministry is most of these women were abused as children. The earliest abuse starts at 2, and they didn't break their arm and go to the doctor and get a pill. It's the only life they've ever known. They've been abused their whole lives, and so what we're trying to do is show them that they have more value than what they were shown as children.
And do you think it's important that the Good Neighbor Awards exist, and the NAR is such a supporter of that, as is Realtor.com, to be able to shine the light more on these types of activities?
Oh, absolutely. This has been an incredible experience, because I was always just kind of a slip in the back door and do stuff and leave and not really talk about what I do. But it has allowed me to have a platform all over the United States about ways that, as a realtor, and we have a responsibility to the community. We have, it's not HGTV. We're not showing 3 houses and having fancy lunches and carrying real nice briefcases. I mean, my car's a mess. My house is a mess. But I think it gives a positive light to others to let them know that we're more than selling houses. We're there as a realtor, I'm there for the divorces and the births and cleaning out the parents' houses after, they've lived in a house for 50 years. And so it's I'm doing that actually now. That's a house that the people have owned since 1950, and the 2 daughters are having to empty out everything. And I've known them all my life, so it's been a little bit of an emotional experience, and we get attached to each other. And so it's more than just selling houses. I consider it selling homes, not houses.
Well said. You've been able to raise some money and to get more people involved in your charity. How's that make you feel?
It's been really cool. I went to our state convention, and they asked me in 5 minutes, will you speak for 5 minutes? And so I was able to speak to my West Virginia realtor friends. And I usually cry at this point. I'm a little bit of a crier sometimes. After I spoke the next day, they came back up and they said that they said that my cup runneth over. So they wanted to pass around a cup for the realtors to just put in some money. And I walked away with $7,100. They put money in a box for me, and then other real estate companies matched the funds, and so I was blown away. It's It is a family. I know everybody says that about where you work, but one cool thing about West Virginia is, you know, if you look at the map of the United States, what's the coolest state? It's West Virginia. You know, it's the coolest state there is. Yeah, and we are not part of Virginia, not since 1863. We're our own state. So it's really cool. But, you know, we're not historically known for being a positive place. You know, everybody thinks we're just a bunch of hillbilly coal miners that are barefoot, pregnant, with no teeth, drinking Mountain Dew all day. So I love it that we've been able to show the United States that, you know, we're caring people, and we would give you the shirt off our back, and it would be the last shirt, and you would never know.
So let's transition to the Netflix movie and documentary that was created. And for the folks here, Nate mentioned, but it basically was super impactful, and it was nominated for an Oscar, and then it won the Emmy. Tell everyone what it was like to go to the Oscars and be a part of the making of that, the impact it's had, and the awards circuit.
The cool thing was that we didn't realize it was going to be a documentary. Elaine and Kern are from West Virginia, and they do documentaries mostly on West Virginia. And they came in 2016 to, they were doing a documentary that's on Netflix now called Recovery Boys. And they were coming to see what drug court was about because Huntington has the largest drug court in West Virginia, and I'm part of the drug court team. I do that once a week too. So they wanted to see what drug court was all about because ours is one of the most successful in West Virginia, and it's actually one of the most successful in the nation. And while they were there, they kind of ran into me and Judge and Jan, and they said, we would like to film some of you all. We don't know why. We just feel like a need to film you. And had I have known that this was going to turn out this way, I probably would have lost some weight and dyed my hair and maybe worked on this Appalachian accent a little bit, I don't know. But what ended up happening was over the next basically year, they came back a couple more times, and there was an email that came out that said they wanted a documentary directed by a woman about women making change, and they submitted our raw footage to them, kind of unbeknownst to us, I might add. And then we get the group call that says, hey, they want to make a documentary. And then we get a call that says, hey, Netflix is picking this up. And we saw it the same day the world did. We got no preview. So then we got nominated for an Oscar. Is that not too cool? We've been able to go to we went to the first Obama summit, and we were able to, Chuck Todd interviewed us at Washington, D.C., a film festival, and it's been, we were on NPR radio, I love that. And I've been able to speak all over the United States, specifically on my section, about the looking at people with beyond your eyes, but you know, looking at them with your heart, and not everybody, whoever's sitting beside you has something that they need help with. They need a friend today, they might need a friend tomorrow, and reach out a hand, and what they might need is just that hand. Not everything requires money, and everything requires time. Sometimes it just, you need to sit there and listen. And so I hope that's one of the things that if you see the Netflix, it's heroin with an E in parentheses at the end, is that you see that we as a community, we were known for being the overdose capital, but since then, our overdoses are down 50%, our deaths are down 50%, our Narcan's down 50%, and it's because we as a community decided that we weren't going to wait for somebody else to do the change, that we was going to do it. And so we've got some amazing programs that we've been able to put together as Huntington, as Cabell County, that is actually transforming the opiate problems, and there's people taking note, and we're freely sharing all of our successful ways that we're being able to do this, and most of it is just community saying, you know, you all need help, and I've got a shovel, so what can I do?
Well, I think on behalf of everyone here and everyone across the country, I think what you do is amazing, and I think you're an amazing realtor, an amazing person, and this charity is unbelievable, so we're proud to support it. We'll be giving you a check as well shortly, and thank you very much for everything you do.
Thank you. I wanted to be able to share with you all what we're going to do with these Good Neighbor funds. My church is not in the inner city of Huntington. I go to Lewis Memorial Baptist Church, but we have purchased a church in the inner city of Huntington that was built in 1914, and it needs some loving. And so we're loving on it. And what we're hoping to do is it to just be an outreach to the community for the first responders. Our first responders have compassion fatigue. They're exhausted with the opiate crisis. It's actually not an opiate crisis. It's a substance use crisis. There's more than heroin out there. And we're also, it will be for the backpack kids. We're going to do some special tutoring that they need. And then we're also going to do some therapy for the brown bag girls. So we're going to be setting up computer stations and outreaches that they can come in, and so we can touch their lives beyond just giving them a brown bag and a backpack.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Amazing. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.